definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show. And we are Black in Sports, where we're giving you the voice of the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And here today, man, we're going to bring you back in the locker room and talk about something that's, near and dear to us, man. Topics in around the game. MH, ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So today, we want to talk about the NFL draft, the 2022 NFL draft. After a 2-year hiatus, all right, coming back to Las Vegas, MH, man. So what's your initial thoughts, man, when I say the 2022 NFL draft?
Exciting. Seems like the Las Vegas has become a hot spot. It's always been a hot spot, but definitely for the NFL when it comes to Pro Bowl and then obviously the draft that we're discussing and in a few years the Super Bowl. So it seems like NFL, some of their biggest events, they want to continue to do it in Vegas. So exciting and busy.
Sense, absolutely exciting and busy. That I think busy would be my word that would come to mind. I just can't even fathom like what it's going to be. I'm like already probably maybe midweek, maybe next week, turning off my phone for all of those. Hey, what's going on? And just talk about, I guess, from that busy to strand into like events, right? We are the, entertainment, sports and event capital of the world. So to see the different type of events that are going to happen, the list is going to be endless.
Yeah, and I think the NFL, like I said, I mean, they've put a hot spot on particularly the draft and the Super Bowl. And what better place to hold events than Las Vegas? So, somebody is probably going to be attached to this in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
I'm sure the players have their own things that they want to do, and it's probably good for their brands and their agencies to host things here in Las Vegas around the draft. That's not even counting the prospects that are going to be drafted or are invited here. So it's going to be exciting, man.
So I think you led right into the next thing I want to talk about, right? So the invitees. So the NFL comes out with this list, or I don't know if it's they invite some people, they decline and they accept. But this year it's 21, I think is the number, 21, 22. You could correct me if I'm wrong, is the number that they've invited. And, there's some names that are left off. It's which I guess it's more than they usually invite, correct?
Yeah, I think, actually they wanted to invite a little more.
Oh, really?
And it's I think mentioning what you mentioned is as far as declines or, people that want to do something else. I think they hovered around 20 or 21 is kind of like the final kind of like list of there. I will say that, from I guess on-field perspective, I guess like there's not a highly touted quarterback. So I guess that opens up the possibility of what your first, 1 to 5 or 6 picks are going to be right. Because there's not, I guess, a quarterback. Last year we had 3 quarterbacks that were selected in the top 5 picks or whatever. So it's going to be a little different this year. I don't know if there'll be a quarterback in the first round. So I think that makes it a little different than years in past when it comes to the draft.
And probably why Pickett declined, right? There's speculations because he was right going into this and before pro days and things like that. He was, the top quarterback to be selected, and then he's just like, nah, I'm gonna tuck mine in, and he stayed at the house.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to bring 2 suits to the the green room. Yeah, they just wanted to bring 1. So if it's looking like 2, I might stay home in my own place too.
I'm gonna just tuck mine in. So that's what's happening. But Malik is like, hey, he's like, you know what? If I don't go first round, who cares? I'm gonna enjoy this experience. So he's gonna come get that free trip to Vegas. So I don't blame him, man. Like if he goes first round, it's a win. If not, I mean, he came out to Vegas, man. He jumped up. So
he's gonna get a lot of camera time either way. If he's stuck back there by himself, they're gonna be some camera time on him. So we'll see.
he's interesting, man. So of course, I was hoping that he would be around for the Steelers, but like just the way it's looking, the Panthers are switching. Like it was Pickett, now they're switching towards him. So I don't know. And of course, you never know where these guys are going to be. Like the hype and the momentum going into draft can all be. The Raiders always remember Jamarcus Russell. So
yeah, I mean, prayers up to Dwayne Haskins' family and everything that with the Steelers and your quarterback situation. But football aside, prayers up to his family. But we'll see. We'll see, man.
So, a little more football talk. It's definitely defensive is going to be first round pick, right? Just with the needs. Who are you thinking of your first rounder?
I mean, if it was me, I like Evan Neal from Alabama. He's a tackle. I think he's going to be a 15-year starter in the NFL, and he's 6'7" and moves like he's 6'1". Long arms. I think he is an all-pro. And I think the next best player in the draft is probably Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame. I know he hasn't ran the fastest 40, but this dude is
they talked about his 40.
Yeah, I mean, 40 aside, this dude can really play. And so those would be my top picks.
So no the hype for you around what's the dude from Michigan? Was it Hutchinson?
Yeah, I like Hutchinson a lot. I think he's a really good try hard type player, and I mean that with the most respect I can. It's no disrespect. I don't think he's
disrespect.
I mean, he's got pedigree, right, with his his family that's had leagues experience as well. I think he's the real deal. I wouldn't say he's Aaron Donald or somebody that's life changing that way, but I think he's a solid 8 to 10 sack kind of guy a year. Can play the run pretty well. So I like him a lot too. I wouldn't be booing if he was drafted first.
Right.
Put it that way. So we should see, man.
A lot of receivers. So this is going to be like the receiver laden draft. A few from Ohio State.
Receivers are interesting, man, because I think, like unless you're like some ridiculous freak athlete, or you can move around different spots of the field. I don't know if I would take wide receivers in the first round anymore. I mean, you can get wide receivers in the second or third round and be quality. So
I think a lot of offensive people other than your quarterback, seem like they're really, unless you said, like you said, a generational person, right? Like Kyle Pitts, as far as tight end, but he can play like the multiple position, like he's an athlete, right? So I get that as an offensive player, but no, like we've seen that by way of the running back, anymore. Before you were picking a running back to like centerpiece of your offense, and now you're like, we'll pick up one second round, third round, and that's how you feel about wide receivers. I mean, we have plenty of them, and they're not the way they're being used, and then the health of them too, right? Because that's what we saw with LA. They had depth at wide receiver, so the pros and cons if that helped them.
Yeah, but I mean, Cooper Kupp, I think he was a second or third round draft choice out of a small school, and he's a Triple Crown winner at receiver.
Triple Crown. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Tyreek Hill, who I think is the pound for pound, I think he's top 3 best football players in the NFL. I think he was a third or fourth round pick, and that could have been for some other reasons. But I think you can get some quality, in different parts of the draft. But we'll see. I mean, I think Jamar Chase is the real deal, and he was the first receiver pick last year, so we'll see.
Yeah, and there's some. I don't know how you want to look at it, but there's some first round picks. I don't want to say bust, but just didn't live up to the expectations that we were hoping for teams, right? So that definitely could happen. And there's so many reasons, right? Like the team they go to, right? If you're a top pick and you go to a suspect team, or the quarterback throwing to you, like
situations matter. Situations definitely matter.
Big time.
Anywhere, who's up top, who's the ownership, who's the GM, who's the coach,
All of the
who's the
above.
quarterback. Like, yeah, there's a lot of variables that go in, particularly wide receiver, because it's such a dependent position. So that's probably why you get
offensive coordinator, right? Like how they're designing,
exactly.
or putting you in the right spot. And like you said, having the talent to play to multiple positions. All right. So getting back into the Vegas side of things, right? So I don't know if you've been out and about or had a chance or stumbled across, but they're already building, man. They're definitely getting ready for this spectacle or this experience. I don't know if you saw that they're already working on the Bellagio fountains.
I haven't seen it. I heard that they were starting some construction of it last week or at the end of last week.
In the last weekend, so yeah, cutting it
So
down to one lane of traffic, attempting to pull in the Bellagio. So yeah, it's hurry
it's
up and get
looking
that done.
ugly. Yeah.
Hurry up and get that done. And then so it took me a minute to figure it out, and I still don't know if I have it, but like that's just like the red carpet entrance for
Yeah.
the first 20, 21 or however many total we get to go.
Right.
And you're gonna take the little boat ride, kind of like with the fountains. And so I mean, it's what Vegas does, right? Like the show.
Yeah. I think most of it's going to be at the Link parking lot in that area out there. Yeah.
The Caesars Forum area behind. All disrespect to it, right? No. But no, they're already building too, right? Like it looks almost like a Coachella tent. Speaking of Coachella, I know that's going on these next 2 weeks, but it's like building that whole tent area, and I guess it looks a little bit similar to that canopy that they built in Cleveland. But yeah, it's behind. I just call it the Vegas Wheel because I don't know what you call it because people get mad. It has a name.
They don't like that. What's it called? The High Roller or something like that?
Yes, the High Roller. Thank you for calling it the proper name. So yes, it's the.
I didn't know. I didn't know they had other names. I didn't know.
Well, no, people call it a Ferris wheel, and I just said that, and you're not supposed to call it a Ferris wheel. So
I got you.
The High Roller, by its proper name. So speaking of events, they're already selling like, watch the draft from the High Roller. So hey, get it how you live, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it should be it should be exciting. I think there's one thing that I got my eye on is the weather here in Vegas.
Oh boy.
And it's not like hot or cold because it'd probably be some nice weather. It's just if you haven't been out here, and you probably will understand because it is a desert, this wind is something that
we are in wind season. Like it's so funny. So I just posted on my social about wind season, and people like, April showers bring May flowers. No, we have wind and dust bowls that are very serious out here. So let's just hope, that the Mother Nature really works with them, because it's going to be some could be really bad back
there.
Because that's almost like a wind tunnel, right? Like coming through like that whole link and then opening up. So
I don't think the NFL really knew how windy it really gets here. I mean, I've never lived in Chicago, and I know it has the term of windy city, but I can't imagine a city being more windy than Las Vegas, particularly from February to like April. So we gonna see.
That's something to look out for. That's going to be interesting, especially because they shut down the fountains when it's too windy. Like people be like, "Oh, the show," and it's like, "Oh, why isn't?" Oh, because it's too windy.
It's too windy,
they can't do the fountains when it's too windy. So that's going to be.
We praying for that.
Praying for that. So, the big, me always looking at like the numbers and the money, the business side of things, right? So, one of the things I was wondering, and like they've brought up, is the numbers, right? What are we going to do from a number standpoint? So I just want to start with the visitors, right? Do you think it's going to be like a mega turnout, or you think it's just going to be, nice? It's going to be up there because like Nashville is the one that's holding the title right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to kind of be up there. Anytime, like, I don't know the super logistics around the strip, but anytime they say they're going to shut down portions of driving for just pedestrians kind of walking, and I know some things that are going to go on at the airport, particularly Wednesday, I think, or
When people
before the
start coming in.
draft was when
Mhm.
they start coming in. With all that coming in, I mean, I got to think that whatever was in Nashville, it'll be kind of double. And this
Hold on,
is kind
double.
of
So hold on. Nashville. I'm gonna give you the Nashville. Nashville did
give me the numbers.
600,000 people in Nashville.
Okay, maybe not double. That was a little different. Maybe not double.
Would you
But
think we're getting up there though?
yeah. I think we'll be more than that. Yeah, no
Okay,
doubt.
because Philly had, and these are the only numbers like that I could find. Philly had 250,000. So we beating Philly, right? We're blowing
Oh, yeah.
Philly out. And Philly
Yeah.
was before a well, both of these were before pandemics, right? So
Sure.
or we're still in a pandemic. I hate when I rephrase that. But anyway, so close to the 600, beat it.
Yeah, I think it's surpassing. It's interesting. This is a totally different subject. Like the NBA playoffs just kind of started this year, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can kind of see like the stadiums are full versus
Yes.
where last year where there were some, but it wasn't really full.
Because there's restrictions and everything.
There's some
Yep.
restrictions, and I think these are like, anytime you have these big events that are like the comeback type of events, I guess post pandemic. I think a lot of people are
Post-lockdown.
fired. Yeah, I think a lot of people are fired up for it. And as we know, Vegas is pretty wide open. I don't know who has restrictions still, but I don't know of any in Vegas at this point. So I would imagine that those numbers are going to be tested a little bit. That 600,000 will be tested.
I hope so. I mean, but that's the mindset, for Vegas when they do things like, tracking those things. They're really great at like, what numbers we have touchdown in the airport, right? Like we were hovering around under that 40. And then once we broke that 40, it's like 41. Then the next year it was 42. So yes, they definitely track it. Another part is, we were talking about events. I think, sometimes we don't talk about because all you see is what's active on TV and maybe, more that you work in sports, but just the philanthropic impact that they do, right? So the NFL does a lot of stuff with the different community partners in town. So I think that's one thing that's like really missed. But like I've been hearing more and more about just certain things that they're doing, whether it's volunteering here, planting a tree there, or just doing something for the community. So that's been cool to hear, and not something I really thought about before.
Yeah, I think even the prospects have, those 20 or 21 that are coming, they have some community portions to it.
Oh, that's dope.
And I know, it's where I was looking here. The NFL, they have things that they do in all the markets that they come to as far as community wise. So draft, they got some things that they wanted to community wise. I know, Super Bowl, they have some things they want to highlight outside of the event. They want to probably leave a impact or make the place that they're hosting a little better in some sort of way. And so I don't think that even changes. I know it doesn't change here in Las Vegas. I know there's some things that's going to be impacted, and it's going to be good for the city, not just hosting the draft, but just good for the community leaders in the city as well. So
absolutely. And then the money. It always comes down to the money, economic impact, right? Which is, the reason why a lot of people sign off on this, right? Like, our hotels have to say, how are we each going to get involved and what's our win? And, jobs is the first thing, especially after the lockdown and, still in a pandemic coming through that, people look for work, but put a lot of people to work. So, I looked up the numbers. I don't know what we're estimated for, but once again, Nashville did 223.9 million in economic impact. And I mean, that was crushing it because the year before, or just compared to coming out of it, right? Because we talked about coming out of being on lockdown and the COVID situation and restrictions, where Cleveland was not, we weren't out of it, things were slowly, but that was like the first event back, and their economic impact was and I'm saying only 42 million, but like compared to what they did or just the year before, coming back, I think a lot to do with it, not to knock on Cleveland, but I mean, it's the destination, right? So it's
Right.
going to be interesting to see how many people come and what that spend is. And like, I hope it's in that higher range, but like, of course, let's see if we can break some numbers.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some numbers tested. Like I said, I mean, this has been a crazy 4 months, if I don't even put it that long span, 6 to 4 months, or 4 to 6 months
Mhm.
in Vegas when it comes to Pro Bowl, NFL Draft, the Grammys, NHL All Star, and I know I'm missing like 10 other things probably. Like it's been crazy. So yeah, all those numbers are going to be tested.
And that's the thing, like, they don't understand, like, we're still a convention town, so these big conventions are still slated to come here, and they're like, "Oh, the draft's in town? Well, hey, let me go over here and, see if I can get a ticket to the draft or go to one of these draft parties or, who's all in town." So, it's definitely gonna be, I think it's, the NSB, the National Broadcasters Association, which is one of the top, I wanna say 10, maybe 5, shows
Mhm.
that come here. And then, like said, all the other stuff that we have going on, right? I'm sure there's going to be like a concert, a fight, or something else going on that weekend that we just really haven't really focused in on. So it's going to be interesting. Last thing we're going to know how the draft went by brother Dion. Coach is going to let us know how the HBCUs fare, and hopefully they fare well. He has been definitely shining a light and getting a lot of support. The HBCUs have been doing, all they can and growing. So hopefully we see some kind of impact on that draft board. Of course, not the first round this year. Hopefully, eventually we'll get there. But
Right.
hopefully you see more impact, because I think last year there was not one, correct?
No, there wasn't one selected. I think there's a couple that got rookie,
Rookie contracts or like
creative deals,
invited.
but like you said, hopefully there's somebody that there's their receiver, whoever was it, Alabama, whoever they lost to in the HBCU championship, that
Mhm.
was the real deal. So like I said, there's some talent, depth in the draft, and hopefully we get one or a couple, a few, because they can fall too. So
Absolutely. Well, the draft is coming. When we releases, the draft is here. So hopefully, get your popcorn ready. Hopefully that our listeners are going to be in town and enjoying the festivities of how we do it. And hopefully we get the draft in another couple years. I mean, we need to take a break though. we we don't need it for a while. Let us pause for a minute. But
just some kind of break. I think something that we didn't touch on that I think is kind of interesting, and we'll see how this works moving
Mhm.
forward for the NFL. Is I think this is the first draft that's going to be on the West Coast. Obviously, it was traditionally in New York for a long, long time, and then
Right.
I think it was Chicago and Philadelphia, and then
Dallas.
Cleveland, Dallas. Has it been? It was been in Dallas.
Yep.
Yeah, so Dallas, but nothing
Dallas was as
past
far, yeah, Dallas was as far
nothing
as
past the central time zone, right?
right.
And so you could not necessarily day one, because day one is day one, but day two, day three,
How's that going to affect the viewership
how's
on?
that's going to look? When you start the draft on the West Coast at 8 a.m. versus on the East Coast is 11 o'clock when things are getting going. So
Mhm.
how does that look on Friday and Saturday? We'll see. But that is something that I'm sure the NFL is looking at, like how does that work moving forward, down the line of how the draft actually works on the West Coast, because it's not just Thursday. It's 3 days, and so I'm sure you want some kind of viewership all 3 days. But how does that
100%.
look? How does that
And
look?
like,
So
you have to fight for that, right? Because day one is day one, right? Like that
yeah,
brings in people. Everybody's going to tune and get it.
it's
But then, like, as it kind of falls in, what are you doing production wise, entertainment wise, story wise, to keep people, you know, not here physically tuning in? That's a good one.
I think a plus, for the NFL with that regard is that, the home team, as of now, the Raiders traded away their, first and second round picks. So they wouldn't necessarily pick in the first, I think 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
if I believe so. So I think it would help that if, all their picks are in day three, as it's currently sitting right now, that there'll be some, viewership or people wanting to be kind of, near the atmosphere, near the stage when, the Raiders, the hometown team, gets their selection. So, I mean, if it stays how it is now, that might be a plus for the NFL, but, we'll see.
Awesome, man. Well, looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, man. Sometimes we do a recap show, so we'll see how this goes if a recap show, the funny moments.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure there's gonna be a moment with the boats and everything coming over, so we'll have to do something.
Family reactions, our favorite, who wore it best, like, see what they come, on the stage and the red carpet with. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to checking it out, man.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have a QR code or something on the inside of their jacket. Man, shout out to QR codes with the comebacks. I don't know how the hell they came back like that.
With an NFT, that's what it's gonna be.
So the NFT. Yeah, there you go.
Everybody's gonna come out with the draft NFT with the QR code. Absolutely, man. Because like I said, I mean, with NIL, these cats are on their brand recognition so much tougher. So capture that moment.
We'll see, man. It should be
fun. Got anything else for the people, man?
Nah, man, all good.
All right, man. Well, hey, please enjoy the draft. Tune in, check it out, and I want to thank you to people for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Definitely share the show. Get ready for the live shows. We have a live show every month, so we're getting ready to have that soon. And don't hesitate to ever give us feedback. So please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.